The Patient Ant and the Swollen River. In a golden meadow on the edge of a whispering forest, the sun shone warmly on a bustling anthill. This anthill was home to hundreds of hard-working ants, each contributing in their own small way to the safety and comfort of their community. Among them was a little ant named Andy, known far and wide not only for his diligence, but also for the calmness that set him apart from his hurried companions. A day like any other. It was early afternoon when Andy set out on his daily journey to gather food. The meadow was alive with the soft hum of bees and the gentle rustling of tall grass. As Andy marched along the well-worn paths with his fellow ants, he paused now and then to help an elder ant or to share a friendly nod with a passing beetle. His quiet smile and steady pace made him a favorite among all. Yet, even on this bright day, something unusual began to stir. Far off in the distance, dark clouds gathered like a curtain overhead. The wind grew brisk, and the gentle murmur of the meadow was replaced by the soft sound of distant thunder. Andy noticed that the other ants began to chatter anxiously, wondering what the change in weather might bring. The gathering storm. By late afternoon, the rain began to fall, not as a gentle sprinkle, but as a determined, steady downpour. The usually placid river that meandered near the anthill transformed almost overnight. It swelled with the force of the rain, its water surging and churning over the banks with a powerful urgency. The once familiar stream was now a wild, roaring current. Within the anthill, panic stirred among the ants. Many hurried to gather their supplies, scurrying about as they discussed what might happen next. Some worried that the rising water would flood their tunnels. Others fretted about the safety of the food stores they had worked so hard to collect. Andy, however, took a quiet breath and stepped outside the entrance of the anthill to observe the scene. Sitting atop a small stone, he watched as the swollen river twisted and roared. His mind, trained by years of careful observation, began to notice details that others had missed. The current was strongest in the middle, but along its banks there were spots where the water slowed and even curled into gentle eddies. As the rain pounded relentlessly, an elderly ant named Martha shuffled over. With kind, tired eyes, she said, "Andy, my dear, everyone is frightened. They're not sure how we can save our home. What do you think we should do?" Andy's calm voice replied, "Martha, I believe there is a way to protect our anthill. Let us first be patient and observe. The river may be dangerous, but I have noticed calmer patches along its edge. We might find a safe path for our supplies and even a way to help secure our home." Martha's eyes lit with hope, and soon word of Andy's thoughtful plan spread throughout the colony. Planning and teamwork. Gathering a small group of the most careful and skilled ants, Andy organized a meeting near the anthill's entrance. The team included Bee, a resourceful ant known for her quick thinking, Theo, who was always strong and steady, and even little Tim, whose tiny size allowed him to squeeze into the narrowest spaces. "Friends," Andy began, "I've observed the swollen river. While it roars fiercely in some parts, there are spots where the water is calmer. With our teamwork, we can build a temporary bridge to carry supplies and even create a safe passage for those who need to escape if the waters rise too high." Bee, ever the practical one, chimed in, "I've seen fallen twigs and broad leaves scattered by the storm. Perhaps we can gather these and form a makeshift bridge along the shallower edge of the river." Theo nodded, his voice deep and reassuring. "I will help move the heavier pieces. Together, we can make sure our anthill remains safe." And so, with Andy's patient leadership, the ants set off on their task. They scurried to the edge of the meadow where the rain had deposited a trove of natural materials. There, they carefully selected the sturdiest twigs and the largest, most resilient leaves. Under Andy's guidance, they arranged these pieces along the edge of the river, testing each step and reinforcing weak spots. For hours, the colony worked as a team. The sound of busy ants filled the air, punctuated by the constant drumming of raindrops. Despite the chaos of the storm, There was a sense of calm determination in their actions, a quiet belief that with patience and unity, they could overcome any challenge. Unexpected encounters. As the bridge took shape, the ants encountered other forest creatures who were also affected by the storm. A small snail named Simon slowly made his way across the soggy grass, his delicate shell glistening with raindrops. He paused to admire the work of the ants and said, "Your patience and teamwork remind me that nature always finds a way, even in the midst of a storm." Simon's words filled the ants with additional courage. "Thank you, Simon," said Andy warmly. "We believe that by working together and waiting for the right moment, we can secure our home and help others too." Meanwhile, near the swollen river, a gentle frog named Fiona watched the ants' efforts with keen interest. Fiona was known in the forest for her wisdom and kindness, and she offered to keep watch over the bridge as it was being built. "I'll keep an eye on the water's movement," Fiona said. "If the river changes its course or the current grows stronger, I'll alert you immediately." Fiona's presence reassured the ants, and they continued their work with renewed vigor. Every ant, no matter how small, contributed to the effort. Some scurried back and forth with fresh materials, while others reinforced the structure by weaving tiny fibers between the twigs and leaves. The teamwork created a patchwork of nature's own design, a temporary bridge that was as fragile as it was ingenious. The test of patience. As twilight approached, the rain slowly began to ease. The angry roar of the swollen river softened into a murmuring flow. Still, the sky remained cloudy, and the ants knew that the water might not calm for long. They decided it was time to test the strength of their bridge. One by one, the ants began to cross the bridge. At first, they were tentative, testing each step carefully. Andy was the first to venture across, his little legs steady on the crafted pathway. With each cautious step, his confidence grew, and soon other ants followed him in a steady procession. There was a moment of tension when a particularly heavy gust of wind swept across the meadow. The makeshift bridge trembled under the force, and for a split second, every ant held its breath. Theo, standing near the strongest point of the structure, shouted over the wind, "Hold on, everyone! Stay close and be patient." The ants gripped the twigs and leaves, trusting in the work they had done. The gust passed, and slowly the bridge held firm. The community worked together to secure the bridge further, tying down loose pieces and reinforcing the connections with extra bits of leaf. They learned that true strength wasn't just about force, it was about unity and perseverance. A lesson learned. When the first light of dawn broke through the clouds, the meadow emerged as a transformed world, a world where the storm had passed and left behind a glistening, refreshed landscape. The swollen river had receded to a gentle stream, and the anthills stood safe and sound. The temporary bridge had served its purpose, allowing the ants to transport supplies and ensure that no one was left behind during the storm. At that moment, Andy gathered the ants around him beneath a large, dew-covered leaf. "Today, we have learned something very important," he said softly, his voice full of warmth and wisdom. In the face of great challenges, patience, careful observation, and working together can turn even the wildest storm into a lesson in strength and unity. Martha, the elderly ant, smiled through her tired eyes. "Andy, you have shown us that even when the world seems chaotic, there is always a way forward if we remain patient and trust in each other." Even little Tim, who had been so eager to help despite his small size, piped up, "I learned that even the tiniest ant can make a big difference when we work together and never give up." Reflections by the river. Later that day, as the ants settled back into the comfort of their anthill, the meadow returned to its peaceful rhythm. The river, once swollen and intimidating, now flowed quietly under the gentle gaze of the morning sun. Andy took a moment to wander to the riverbank and sit by the water's edge. There he reflected on the day's events and the beauty of nature's lessons. A gentle breeze rustled the nearby wildflowers, and in that tranquil moment, Andy recalled another wise saying he had once heard. Patience is not merely waiting. It is how we behave while we wait. With that thought warming his heart, Andy understood that the storm and its challenges had given his community more than just safety. They had given them the strength to face future trials with hope and collaboration. As the day progressed, other forest creatures visited the anthill. Fiona the frog hopped by to share cheerful greetings, and Simon the snail left a shimmering trail as he passed, reminding everyone that even the slowest of journeys could lead to unexpected adventures. A night of gratitude. When twilight returned once again, the ants gathered around a small firefly-lit clearing near their home. They celebrated not just the end of the storm, but the way they had come together. In soft voices, they recounted how each moment of patience and every act of kindness had helped them overcome the day's challenges. Andy, sitting at the center of the group, spoke quietly. Tonight, let us remember that while storms may come and rivers may swell, it is our unity, patience, and careful planning that will always guide us to safety. Let us cherish each moment, for in every challenge, there is a hidden gift waiting to be discovered. The ants listened intently, their hearts filled with gratitude and newfound wisdom. As the fireflies danced in the darkening sky and the gentle hum of nighttime creatures filled the air, each ant drifted into a peaceful sleep, knowing that together they could weather any storm. Moral of the story: patience, combined with careful observation and teamwork, empowers us to overcome even the fiercest challenges. When we face adversity with calm determination and trust in one another, we find that every storm holds the promise of a new beginning, and every obstacle hides a lesson in strength and unity.